Uh, this video is being created as a guide for a member of a couple whose partner felt rushed uh, previously uh, in getting married for some logistical reasons, and it created some wounds for the rushed partner that she's trying to empathize for him now, and so I'm just gonna anticipate and model some of the ways of trying to be present and parking a lot of our own struggles and anxieties that would often make sense to get in the way. So I'll most, for the most part, be the voice of her modeling, being there for his world, and in the gaps you could anticipate, guess what his experience may have been. So it's just kind of, I guess, a modeling experiment. Um, okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, I'm here now, and I want to be with the pain that got created earlier from when things were rushed. And I will let you know that even though I have my opinions and preferences, and I showed up in great ways and not great ways in the past, I'm going to be parking lotting some of my stuff in order to be with you. I'll have faith that you'll be with my stuff totally different time. I'm naming that so it's easier for me to show up, but just also so you know that I'm here for you. Okay. What was it like for you to have our our wedding rushed? And what I'm looking for is what somatic emotional response comes up. So if it's uncomfortable look, or afraid to talk into you tone, then we don't want to ignore that. We want to, uh, let it be there. It's real for a second. And with eyes that ideally touch, um, convey, feels uncomfortable to talk about this, huh? And I'm here, and you could tell me more. You could tell me about it when you're ready. The goal is to create safety, to create slowness, to create permission for experience. So when the experience unfolds, it's safe for him to say, I'm afraid that if I tell you, you'll be pissed because maybe the 10 other times you're pissed that I brought this up. So I'm not going to say it. So as his partner, we're seeing that body language, we're aware of it, we're caring about it, we're parking and lotting our needing to explain or be right, and we're creating room for the experience. The safety is the most important part. So even if I think he's full of shit with his examples that he hasn't even brought up yet, the message is, I'm here for you. So um, I might even see it different, but I want to hear what you have to say. More important than that, I want to hear what's it like to be you, even when we're thinking about this. He could say, I'm nervous. I mean, you're nervous. Of course you are. I'm here. And you could tell me more. That was a hard time. You felt really rushed, huh? What comes up for you when you felt rushed? Could be a theme of feeling robbed of being able to make the choice myself, let's say. I'm afraid that I didn't have the time to make the choice myself and I just had to do it. And otherwise, you would have left or been mad. So I'm responding to the emotional world, not I wouldn't have left, or you said it was you wanted to do it, so why are you blaming this on me now? But you felt rushed then, or you were afraid that I wasn't gonna have room for your voice. So we're paying attention to and creating room for the limbic emotional system that wasn't allowed to have been paid attention to at the time that the wound got created from the rushed circumstance and the anxiety behind that circumstance. So in the repair, we're allowing there to be an experience of uh, empathy in the present for something that may have happened years ago. In his mind, he may be invited to think about what happened years ago. So um, the emotional memory and pain that may contaminate things in the present because of what happened in the past can have a layer of your empathy in the present. And so you might say, I just felt forced into it. I wasn't ready. It, I wasn't against it, but it was something that I wasn't ready for. And I just felt like I had to do it to keep you. And what I wanted wasn't really important, let's say. I don't know if this person was a thing or not, but if that's what came up, then you were worried that what your voice wasn't important. So we're attending to the wound rather than fact checking again about what happened or didn't happen or whose fault it was, or you said you agreed, so why are you bringing that up now? Where it felt like you didn't have a choice there. I'm having the parking lot, the implied blame that uh, I did something bad to you. Even if part of me was pushy or part of me wasn't pushy, I'm caring about the other's internal world. Is what I'm doing in the present because we're caring about the collateral damage of the miss more than we're clarifying the past. Because that collateral damage of the miss is what's impacting the wiring of the partner in the present that can create pain in the dance. So I'm reminding myself if I get triggered um, because I feel falsely accused because of a detail is um, reminding me of something that I wish I didn't do or I didn't do, but it's being claimed that I did. Then I need to remind myself this is about him. Later, if this bugs me, uh, after a half hour or 2 hours, I could bring it up like, oh, by the way, something got triggered for me. Could you reassure me that you see this differently, or But right now, since this is about him, I'm not uh, educating him on my truth. I'm caring about his experience. Um, I've never nursed a baby, but it's like nursing a baby. You're paying attention to the other. You're paying attention to the cues. You're looking. You're being with. We're nurturing. We're not left brain clarifying. And so when the negative response comes up, we're nurturing the negative response. I'm here for you. That's hard. And if it's too hard for me to do that with empathy, I could write it down. Okay, I need to come back to this. Okay, I'm here now. I had to write that down. Sorry, honey. Or I could acknowledge out loud. Um, I might need to come back to a detail here, and I'm saying that more for myself because just naming it, bookmarking it might enable me to stay with. So ideally, if I could just stay without that, that's great. But sometimes we'll need to bookmark it or know that have faith that we can come back to it. It's our lack of faith that the other will show up for me in this way and really listen to my world that uh, when I have a lack of faith in that based upon my own worldview and experience, that's going to cause me to interrupt. And then my empathy will be cut off. And so we want to avoid that. But back to the example, trying to anticipate what might come up in that dialogue. Oh, I feel awful in bringing this up. You might say, I'm gonna hurt you. You're gonna think I don't want you. The fact that this is stressful. Let's just say that's been communicated that it was hurtful. That he was ambivalent, and of course it's hurtful. It's hurtful because we want our partner to solidly choose us rather than anxiously or ambivalently choose us. But we're being with his wound of his ambivalence didn't have space to choose. And so when that pops up and staying with his experience, I'm sorry, how was that for you? Tell me more. I'm here now. You'd want the person there to hand on shoulder, hand on knee. You're worth being touched. So this is attachment listening. Attachment listening is more eyes and touch are more important than whatever word you're saying. The words are an excuse to be with, and I'm having to remind myself I'm not justifying my existence because the other person's having a negative feeling. I'm being with their negative feeling. It's a child with a tantrum. Their tantrum doesn't mean anything about me. Maybe I triggered it. What my role now is to be with and care. So this is a human being with the limbic system. I say child with a tantrum because we see them as allowed to have limbic systems, and adults were supposed to be in our adult left brain with and argue with that. And that's not the part we're talking to. So I'd want to express sadness when his sadness got brought up. It saddens me that I even have to, it's been this many years and I'm still holding on to this. Something must be the matter with me. So I'm not jumping in. There's nothing the matter with you. You're perfect. But you're conveying that with tone. You're worried something's the matter with you. Mirroring the feeling is the implicit message is you're allowed to have a sensation. I'm making safety. You're worth being connected with. I'm here. Nothing's the matter with you. Ironically, announcing that nothing's the matter with you could trigger a left brain response of, oh yeah, but I did ABC, and then you did BED, and we have to argue about who did what. Thinking what might come next. I'm afraid that I won't work through this in time for our next big decision around buying a house or having a kid, that where this ambivalence got re-triggered from big life decisions, another big life decision. I won't work through this fast enough for you, and I'm awful for that. So in this example, it's shame. So if shame popped up, that's the only feeling I would interrupt. There's nothing the matter with who you are, but then I'm mirroring. You're worried about me not liking it. You're worried about the fact that that would hurt me. It might, but there's nothing matter with who you are, whether it hurts me or not. You're valuable, you're important, whether it hurts me or not. So I am mirroring back to them innate worthwhileness. I'm playing God in the Judeo-Christian sense of it, mirroring back to humanity, innate worthwhileness. But I'm not making him die sins. Uh, but you're putting grace into the system. Um, Having a parking lot that the pain of uh, imperfections that I want to react to in order to stay with being present. When I'm feeling as the empathizer uh, hurt, I need to be mindful. Is this hurt when I'm expressing it, trying to change the topic to me? Like, I'm such an awful human being. Is this shame hurt? If it's shame hurt, then screw that. We're in a parking lot that because I'm the anchor. We'll deal with my shame hurt later. But if it's empathy hurt, like it hurts me because I could see that you felt pressured then, and and if there's aspects of truth to it, I want to own at least one thing. I could see how in such and such a situation, I contributed to that pressure, and then that made you feel like your voice wasn't worth being heard. And then I mirror back the innate truth. Your voice is worth being heard, but I also mirror back the pain dilemma that's in their body now. And it feels like when you're thinking about what happened that it wasn't. So we're cognitively weaving and emotionally weaving in uh, the present innate worthwhileness and past innate worthwhileness with the present's feelings of um, I'm not okay because of that. So with that being mirrored, I could relax. I could allow you to help me cognitively weave the deeper truth that the empathic person is helping their partner hear, witness, and be held. And ideally, this won't be through a recording. There would be an arm on the shoulder. Another thing, if there's a pain feeling, uh, uh, I'm awful or something. Where do you feel that in your body? Almost always it's here, here, or here. So yeah, honey, put your hand there. Feel your own love toward yourself. And that would be a little bit unsatisfying, but we want them to uh, train themselves to self-soothe. But then kind of put my hand on yours. Notice my hand on top of yours. And I'm here for you. And that hurt you when I did that. Or you feel guilty about that. This is where you hold it in your body. So I'm squeezing the hand that's holding the chest, that's holding the body, that's feeling the pain. So we're attachment, empathy, mirroring, touch, caring about the wound. We're not arguing with it. The wound could be made up. It could be based upon a dream. Who knows? We're probably in a dream right now. But you're just caring about that. I would say continue staying with your partner, doing the same thing. You're looking for the next limbic emotional state and mirroring that, and you're not getting hooked. And when you do get hooked by accident, oops, I got hooked on that. But I'll come back to that later. Another conversation. Right now, I just want to be with you. So you're letting them know and reminding yourself that you're coming back until they sigh. That's them coming to safety. And then they have room to have their feelings and sensations. Uh, what we want is the wounded part from the past to have space, to have mirroring in the present. Uh, it need not be with a therapist. Therapists are trained to do this, obviously, but we don't have to psychoanalyze origins of why he's sensitive towards making decisions and has guilt issues or blah, blah, blah. Origin stories um, are irrelevant towards the healing process as far as I'm concerned. They could be helpful towards helping us empathize towards ourselves and others. Okay, this is why I am the way I am. But what's more important is empathy landing while the wounded part is lit up and having the person receiving the empathy after he receives it, if he starts to have a shift of like, even if I hurt you then, or even if I want something that you don't want, I'm still okay as a person. Like if he gets to that point from your mirroring, then we want that, and there's a felt sense of rightness in the body, and there's not tightness because you've allowed empathy, and there's a corrective experience in his body around the empathy, and you could tell that he's experiencing it. That's a good time to say, hey honey, notice who is experiencing this awesomeness right now. And if he's lit up, it'll be, yeah, yes, it's me. And then it's welcome home. We're reaffirming that the self that's lit up, that's the healthy one that's feeling solid or grounded or loving or empathic or self-empathic, that doesn't need to make a case for well and worthwhile. That while that self, that core organic self, whatever we want to call it, is lit up, uh, we want to identify it with our personal ego. We want to help our partner do that. Yeah, this is you. I want to celebrate that. Like, this is you. And we're identifying that from the fragmented self that might get more stuck. You know, you aren't the one who feels awful. That's, even if that person's stuck in that self a lot, that's something you've learned along the way. That's something you picked up. That's a coping mechanism self. That's not the deeper who you are. But say more touch, more empathy, um, not flipping roles immediately if any deeper work is done. So, my understanding is when deeper work is done, when I'm experiencing empathy and I'm expecting judgment, opposites are happening. That allows the rewiring of my it's not safe to be vulnerable part to learn that it can be safe and I'm allowed to be safe and I can trust myself to let it in. I can trust you to give it to me. That's a new lesson. So when that lesson is being learned, give it 4 or 5 hours of rest before you kind of change gears. Try not to fight during the 4 or 5 hours because I think the brain is lit up and more open after an emotional learning experience for a period of a few hours. And we want that brain to continue to learn in the background and apply this quality of empathy that you've given your partner. We want it to be able to apply it subconsciously to other aspects of your relationship with them or their relationship in the past, or their own wiring can be continue to be rewritten while they're not even thinking about it consciously. So give your partner a little space for that to digest. Meaning, have dinner, like to have normal experience, but don't immediately change into now let's have a deep conversation where it's about me, where I might bring up my experience, which might invalidate aspects of what you just shared, because my experience might, with this example, be about how it's scary it was there for me when you're ambivalent. just so then we want the partner to empathize for that fully. But that empathy is too premature for it to be done right away. No, do it the next day or a few hours later. We want it to marinate. Our brains, I hear, use like a quarter of our calories, and most of the time they're not learning. But when they learn, they use a lot more calories, and it's more expensive to learn. So we learn when there's an opposite experience. So we want to give our partner the opposite experience of what their fragmented, painful self is saying. The opposite experience, and these experiences that are we're reliving pain from the past and the present. There wasn't empathy. There wasn't safety usually. So we're providing that now while they're thinking about that in the past. So they're allowing their brain to have the context to be rewired, and you can be part of it. Thank you. That's all for now.